3.
Hey everybody, I'm Maggie McReynolds with Unsettling Books, and I'm here with brand new best-selling author Cath Truelove, whose book Bees on a Bicycle is moving up the Amazon charts, #1 in the UK, #1 in Australia, moving up through the hot new bestseller lists in the US while the Amazon's US algorithms catch up to how fast this book is moving. Hi, Cath.
Hi, everybody. And I in turn would like to introduce a character from the book who has crawled into my lap for this interview. His name is Fred, commonly known as Fredley. And if you read the book, you'll find out more about him.
He's such a deep thinker. You know, he has this look in his eyes like all the big stuff is going on in his brain.
Oh, he's taking all in. He's been here during the whole writing of the book, so he knows all about it.
Cool. Well, for those of us who are not Fredley, tell us what your book is about. How did it come to be? No pun intended.
That's okay. It came to be because people came up to me in my shop and said, "Listen, I've been following you on Facebook, and I really like some of the more lengthy Facebook posts and stories that you're telling, and we'd really, you should write a book. I want more of that." And so I merchandise more plants and sell more pots and whatnot that we do at Bees on a Bicycle. And the idea just sat with me. And then I took a deep breath and took some time over last summer and did a retreat and really laid down some words and started a book.
Very cool. So you run an urban garden center named Bees on a Bicycle in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Shout out to our Chattanooga people. And is the book about the store?
The book starts, it goes throughout many years of my life, and it goes back and forth in various themes throughout the book. But what the general storyline is about a woman who was newly divorced and kind of lost, frankly, that needed to find her way and also needed to find work and livelihood to support herself. I had a different background back then and was doing really well financially and had some experiences where I was carless for a couple years and a few other things that we Americans take for granted, and kind of rebuilt my life per se, and also rebuilt my career. And it's a perspective of somebody going from the corporate world to a very roll up your sleeves, get things done kind of work, and what that is like and how that works, and why I did it. And so that generally is what happened and what I tried to encapsulate in the pages of the book.
So, spoiler alert, I'm Cath's editor, and thus I may have read the book a few times. So, Cath, one of the things that I think is so cool about Bees on a Bicycle, the book, and possibly the store also, is that there's such universal appeal. You mentioned different themes in the book. I saw resilience and recovery from loss. You wrote about the loss of your parents, the loss of your marriage, the loss of your previous career. So I saw that. I saw also finding yourself through release of thoughts and mindsets and habits that aren't working, release of stuff, which, for everybody out there who is KonMariing, is that the right verb? KonMariing their dwellings. This is on tap and on target and relevant. And I saw themes around really trying to figure out midlife. Who am I? What do I do now? What if everything I've done up until this point is either no longer relevant or no longer what I want to pursue? So then what? So I feel like there's a lot of potential readers for this book, not just among gardeners or urban gardeners, but on women or men, I guess, but primarily women going through midlife transition or loss or redefinition of self, or perhaps voluntarily wanting to give up some of the mind clutter and the stuff clutter that's kind of weighing them down at this point in their lives, right?
For sure. I want to add two things because you summarized it so beautifully. Um, I had a vendor that was selling me some pots, and she has glommed onto the book and really liked it. Her name's Melissa, and she's in her 20s and early 30s, and not my target group. But she's like, Cath, I'm going to have all my friends read this because we need to know about, all aspects of life, and we want to have our eyes open. And she says so much of this is applicable to me, and so that was really eye-opening to me about the age ranges and the fact that it resonated with her so strongly. The other
Yeah.
thing, it's really cool, and I think she reviewed it on Amazon, and she mentions it in there. But the other thing is that one of the other reviewers I was really glad to see, she says, Cath went through all this stuff, and we all have stuff, like physically and also mentally, just stuff all in our heads that's not so pleasant. And I tried really hard in the book to spin it in such a way that it would be funny. I just, life is too short to read through somebody else's crap. And
Sure.
and so one of the way she put it, she's like, Cath had this, and this, and she says, I didn't sense a sense of bitterness about it. And it's like, yay, because I tried to make it just not necessarily pleasant and something it wasn't. It's something that was interesting and entertaining and a page turner, so people would get something out of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm glad you mentioned the reviews, because you guys, Cath's book is really beautifully written. And I get to say that because I know, because I read it a lot. But her reviews are amazing. Like, Cath, or attract, or your readers are really, really elegant wordsmiths themselves. I mean, it must say something about the pull and resonance your book has with your readers, that they write so beautifully about the experience. That must be really gratifying to see.
And it is. As I was seeing them as the book launched today, I was really taken aback. It brought tears to my eyes with a couple of them, and
Yeah.
and I will say some of them are customers, because I put out there on the Bees on a Bicycle Facebook page, I put out there, hey, does anybody want to be an advanced reader, just to see how this book lands on people.
Mm-hmm.
And so a few folks were customers. And so it's not like I hang out with them at Christmas time and know them really well. Right, Fred? Yeah, he's listening to me.
He's very interested too.
He's right here. And so I know these people. I've worked with them to select appropriate things for their home and their garden, but it's not like I hang out with them all the time over tea, per se, right? We certainly serve tea at Bees, but you know what I mean. They're not my besties. And so they're having these incredible reviews. And I just was like, it's the kind of customer, frankly, that Bees on a Bicycle is attracting, is just people that are new to the Chattanooga area, people that are looking for community, people that are looking for something that would be really cherished, and a unique object that is appropriate in a minimalist home. I think a lot of us are paring down and down, what is it, when you make your house smaller?
Downsizing.
Downsizing, that one, yes.
My job is words.
Yeah, a lot of us are downsizing, and in that process, we are using what Marie Kondo talks about, but also at the same time, we're giving ourselves permission to select things that are really beautiful and singular. And
I think Marie says spark joy, that spark joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we have a bunch of those things at Bees, and people have loved that. And that's what we talk about when we're there. And so as a result, those are the kinds of folks that evidently are reviewing my book.
Well, and I think it's fascinating that you have very loyal clientele for the store in Chattanooga, but you have a very dynamic following on Instagram and for your email list and elsewhere on social media and for your newsletter all over the country. Heck, you're number one in Australia and in the UK, so I'm guessing you have fans all over the world, and that's really cool.
Well, I'm not surprised about Australia because in my Instagram feed, Bees on a Bicycle,
Mm-hmm.
there's a whole bunch of people from Australia that follow me and comment all the time.
Oh,
And
how interesting.
And so it started with a gal named Nicole Walker. She's a horse farmer in Australia, and then her friends started seeing what she was doing, and they came. But then also, I will say, from a design aesthetic, and also the types of environmental and sustainable things that I'm talking about that are shared through hashtags, I get a lot of Aussies. And it's kind of cool because I talk a little bit about Australia. We lived there when I was a little girl, and when we came to the States, way back when I was in third grade, I had a really heavy Australian accent.
I won't make you do it.
After a couple beers, every once in a while, a word will creep out, and Graham will be like, "What are you talking about?" It'll be like an Australian, like, twang or something.
That's funny.
I'm like, "Ooh, where'd that come from?" I'm not, I used to talk like that solidly, but, not anymore, so it just sticks out like a sore thumb.
So I know writing isn't new to you because you've done a lot of it in previous incarnations of yourself. But this is your first book. How long did it take?
Oh my gosh. I'm all right. In full disclosure, I was hired as a professional writer for a, quasi-governmental agency in DC and managed an average of 80 pieces of writing a week. And so you have to be quick. But I did the first half of the book in a couple weeks. And then the second half of the book took a couple months. And the reason why is because I didn't go on a retreat and get away from things like the dog needing walking and stuff like that. When you can really focus on writing, you can get writing done.
Right.
But the overall process, including publishing, which is there's writing the book and then there's publishing the book. They're two distinct sets of activities, and I'd say they're both about the same amount of time and energy investment. And so overall, I'd say it was about a 7-month process. Yeah. And I think in my experience with writing, if you're going to have good writing, if there's a story that needs to be told, it needs to happen. It needs to come out. And it needs to be done judiciously but also not carelessly.
Right.
Yeah.
So your book is launched today. What happens next? Besides a nap.
I know. You might sense that I have the sniffles, and so yes, a nap is in store. But in the bigger picture, mid-February we have the paperback version of the book coming out, and that's going to have photographs, about 20 or so photographs, and I picked some real oddball ones that I think you guys are going to love. They're kind of downright weird and wonky, but they illustrate what the story is about. And I think it'll be a lot of fun for the paperback version. Then for those of us that can get to Chattanooga or are near to Chattanooga or in Chattanooga, March 4th at 6 p.m. at Bees on a Bicycle, we're having a book launch party. It also happens to be my birthday. No, there will not be birthday cake because I like pie. I'm a pie person, so we're not going to have cake. There might be cupcakes, but anyway, it's going to be a party, and there's going to be the paperback version of the book and good food to eat and, that kind of stuff. And so feel free to come to that. And also, I've been invited to a series of garden clubs and women's groups and stuff like that to read from the book, which I find really an incredibly humbling and honoring thing. And that's going to happen as well. And I'll put all those dates up on my Bees on a Bicycle website so that if people want to go to one, they could call that group up and maybe get a ticket. But so far, that's what's going on. And I've had a few people today reach out to me in Louisville and also DC about possible readings and appearances on television and stuff like that. But I'm going to do that next week.
Next week, after the nap.
After the nap, post nap, yes.
So this is the cool thing, you guys. Bees on a Bicycle is such an unusual name, such a charming name. It's going to stick in your memory. So you can find Cath at all things bees on a bicycle. If you go to whatever website you use for Amazon, if you're outside the US, it might be something slightly different, .uk or .au. Just put in the search bar, Bees on a Bicycle book, and it'll come right up. And you can get it, I think it's free today and tomorrow.
Yeah.
Today being the 30th, tomorrow being the 31st, in case anybody's seeing this review outside those windows. And it's worth every dollar for when it's not free.
Mm-hmm. It goes up after that time for $7.99 for the ebook and $14.99 for the paperback when that's available mid to late February.
Very cool. Very cool. Thanks for talking to me. Cath Shaw Truelove is the author of the brand new Bees on a Bicycle, Finding Heart and Home in Small and Significant Ways. It is soaring to the top of the charts in Amazon, both here and overseas, making Cath a brand new international best-selling author. Just let that settle in. Woo! Thanks so much for talking to me. Everybody watching, go download it.
That's for sure. Take care, and thank you for interviewing me, Maggie. And it's been a pleasure. I really have enjoyed this. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Take care. Bye, Fredley.
Oh, he's sleeping, but bye.
Bye.